Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Arcanautus Ascent. Slightly delayed, but ready to roll.
Sup?
We're all back in business here. Pardon if you hear the yips of a dog in the background. I have guests at the house right now that are being entertained, so they are going to be yippy today. That said, I believe last we left off, you all had left your ship docked at the Good Tide Outpost, the sort of floating affixed building that floats atop the area below which the Subsea Kingdom, resting within its massive, glowing yellow arcane barrier, resides in the sea. You all having your rings from the with the enchantment from K, which allowed you to both breathe underwater and swim faster, and be a little bit stealthier. Descended and descended and descended. You all eventually came upon the dome and began to be sort of observed by these blue chitin armor wearing what you assume to be guards or patrolmen riding atop small sharks. Small relative to the only other shark you all have seen, which was huge. And as you all descended, more and more of these guards with their yellow glowing goggles as you descended more and more darker depths. Eventually, you reach a portcullis, a sort of metal object about 15 foot wide that seems to most likely slide open in a sort of like what is it? I can only describe it as like a sphincter. You know what I'm talking about, like that type of door where it like slides open from multiple sides. Anywho, before you, you are still being observed by these multiple sets of glowing eyes in the dim sea. But before you floats one guard, matching those that you have seen, though not with a shark companion, who resides in front of what appears to be a control box that is under lock and key, as well as a what you believe at first is an aseo, perhaps, based on what you've seen with Shylvie, but no, they appear to be one of the fish folk like you've seen, although this one does not have the rippling muscles that you're used to seeing on such creatures. This one instead is wearing a deep maroon robes, and they almost seem blacker than they should be based on the kind of color contrast that's created by the deeper ocean. Almost like they're kind of more difficult to see if they were not obviously put against the yellowish glow of the barrier behind them. But they do have this relatively blank face of what appears to be the dome of a jellyfish. And out behind their head flows a wide mane of thin tendrils and some larger organelles that seem to kind of come up in a bit of almost a cauliflower-like, like three cauliflower-like growths out to the back of their head. And in these robes, and they raise up a hand in your direction, and you all hear in your heads, what is at first, it's clearly not words, per se, but it appears to be some kind of sort of, you get the gist of their message through this communication, although it doesn't appear to be translated through words. It seems to be some form of direct telepathy. And they, call to you all, and you all hear this in your heads simultaneously. Welcome, travelers. Perchance, what brings you to our kingdom? this day?
Supporting our friend.
And the gelatinous bulb on the top sort of nods in the direction of Shylvie, Shylvie, pardon my assumption, but you are in your Asayo form?
Yep.
Yes. Nods towards the Asayo. The
not the usually colorful one, just like a regular black, blue.
Something you would expect to see in the deep ocean, yes.
Yeah.
So a bit more to fit in.
Yep.
And the creature nods its head towards Shylvie, and then nods towards Siegfried, then Zen. Zen, Halo is sheathed, you believe you said last time?
Yeah, Halo is pretty
Excellent.
much.
And is the salamander coming up behind you guys?
Yeah.
So the salamander appears to be just sort of swimming slow circles as it needs to keep moving, or it will sink. And yes, so it continues to swim and swim and swim in circles kind of below you guys. The jellyfish creature kind of looks down, like leans down and looks in the direction of Jormungandr. And Siegfried, you hear in your head, fish sticks, jelly jerky, all these wonderful things await. And so yeah, that Siegfried, this appears to not be telepathy from the creature you surmise, as it is most likely a part of your blood bond with your salamander. If that went without saying. So here, let me add this. I don't own this image at all, but it is a general summation of the shape of the person, although imagine them wearing robes, these maroon robes atop their bod. So, you have given the reason of supporting your friend. The mage sort of nods their head, or the one in the mage robes nods their dome, you suppose. You all hear again. And what task is your friend here to accomplish? A very direct question. Almost, you feel, perhaps accusatory?
And is that towards us?
To all of you, yes. You all hear this.
Oh, okay. They want to meet their they want to meet their parent who they haven't seen in a long time, and we're interested in backing them up since it's been so long that they weren't entirely comfortable on their own.
I was taken by Sagu Hagen from my home about 500 years ago.
Interesting. Roll, I suppose, persuasion for me. Just to get the gist of kind of their response to this, because there's a couple, they seem to be teetering on, like, their dome sort of nods back and forth ever so slightly as they seem to be considering your words. Go ahead and roll persuasion for me, Shylvie, with advantage from Zen and Siegfried backing you up.
Yep, alright, here we are.
Siegfried nods strongly. Backing you up.
And just to remind you of the name, it's in my crazy person notes. One sec. Oh, I didn't tell.
Their name is Babrug.
Yes.
I'm an
Babrug.
Yeah.
Babrug.
Well, technically,
BBROOG.
But it's been so long that I've got.
Yeah.
All right. Advanced dice roller. 1. No. 2d20 plus 7, 8. Roll. All right. 21. 21.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So 21. You the jellyfish person sort of nods their dome again, and sort of indicates with a hand motion towards the guard to, it appears, perhaps open the gate. And the guard nods at them and says out to you all. They say, first in common, "What languages do you all speak, perchance?" As he
Well,
begins to fiddle with his keys.
common for one. I also speak Celestial, Dwarvish.
Siegfried, do you answer the question either?
Oh, he doesn't talk.
Yeah, I don't know how I would answer this.
Good point. Shylvie, do you respond to this inquiry as the guard appears to be taking out a large kind of circular key, like it's got like a ring-like shape instead of the usual just slit, and he's beginning to put it into a the lockbox.
Aquan, Common, and Sylvan.
And they kind of nod their head. You may need your friend to translate for you. Some of the folks around here, this is an old civilization. Some are slow to adapt to the trading languages of these modern times. So, pardon any folks that seem a little insistent upon their proud heritage.
Aquan is an older language than Aquan spoken here?
No, Aquan is the primary language of Arcanautus. But you will find most folks know some common, can speak it partially, or in the case of traders, they're all very fluent, I'm sure. Except, again, those who have a bit of a, and he turns the key, and you see the gate, these yellow lights that you didn't quite notice before seem to boop, 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 along from the top and down all the way to the bottom, a ring of lights light up around the door. They're very proud of this place. I say all of us are, but who am I to speak for all of us? And he nods towards the jellyfish creature, who then speaks up and says, "You all seem like first-time visitors. Pardon the assumption. Is this true?"
First time, and might as well be.
I've been around.
Indicating.
That's all I can say.
She indicates to Zen. Yeah, she indicates to Zen and Siegfried. They're both first timers, and I haven't been here in so long that I might as well be a first timer.
The jellyfish person telepathically speaks to you all again. Just to let you all know some ground rules to follow as you visit. No killing people, of course. No stealing from people, of course. None of those typical, sort of universal sins.
Don't do this shit, man. It ain't worth it.
Specifically, though, as newcomers, we should let you know, do not inquire too harshly of those who are practicing their faith, be it through the old ways or the new. Are you, and he indicates towards Shylvie again, familiar with you said it's been 400 years, the developments that have occurred?
About the slumbering serpent?
And you all hear essentially what is a telepathic equivalent to a chuckle. He says, "You can just say serpent, but yes, that one."
I feel like it's probably easier to just add the adjective to it, because like otherwise it could just be like, we just saw serpent before we got here. You don't know. He could have been talking about that one.
Indeed. That one doesn't have a "the" in front of it, though. And he does that little chuckle again. And he says, indicates, to each
I'm sorry,
their
what was
own, but don't be too harsh on any whose faith does not match your own. There have been problems in recent times that have had to be settled with intervention from the guards. We hope for things to be joyful and peaceful as best they can be.
Understood.
But perhaps if any of you are the religious sort and carry icons from the surface, do not be too insistent upon your beliefs, and certainly, and they kind of swing their mane around a little bit, and kind of it like unfurls ever so slightly more. You see, don't proselytize. It won't end well. And as he finishes this thought, the gate kind of opens up before you all. You notice water in there. There's water in there. Yeah, still underwater.
Was there not water where we were?
Nah, you're in the ocean, but this is not like a bubble civilization. There's just more water. If that was ever a concern.
No,
It was not.
Subsea.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just so. All right.
Quick question: is this the only entrance?
And they indicate, as you say. Actually, the guard would answer this. They say, yes.
Okay, cool. Don't want to get lost.
And with that, you all swim forward and enter the Subsea Kingdom, or you would, if there was not a secondary guard station that you begin to approach at the edge of this reef here. A building hewn of what appear to be the ribs of various large sea creatures, surrounding and contributing to the foundation of what appears to be a large limestone building. Swimming above are two guards atop sharks, once again, similar to the ones that you had seen outside. Speaking of which, as you had been speaking to the jellyfish person and the guard at the gate, the yellow glowing eyes in the darkness, or in the shade, slowly dispersed as your conversation continued in a positive direction. Anywho, you all are greeted immediately upon entrance by one of these guards who swims over on their shark, and the shark sort of kind of slowly does a lap around you guys. And as the guard circles you all, they indicate, you all spoke to those at the gate, correct?
We wouldn't have been able to get here otherwise.
Of course. What reason do you have for coming? And they continue to circle you. You're realizing that this is just, they're doing essentially the same thing, but again. Except this guy seems like a little less formal.
He's visiting family. He hasn't been here in like 400 or 500 years because he got kidnapped. We're sort of escorting him. We're friends.
I was not kicked out. I was kidnapped.
No, I said kidnapped. I didn't say kicked out. I said kidnapped.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Oh, kidnapped. Oh, I see. Oh, interesting. That is a shame. We are doing very well with protecting the kingdom as is. You won't see anybody getting kidnapped while we're on watch. Well, enjoy your stay. And they sort of kind of tug the reins of their shark, and it sort of returns to circling the guard building at the entrance. They don't seem to take their eyes off you, though. And you do notice as they return to their post, they lower their goggles, and the goggles start glowing again as well. As a side note, none of you have any illusory magic currently active, correct?
Correct.
Because Shylvie's thing is
Illusory?
natural, and everybody else's is... Oh, the lizard. I forgot about it. It followed you in, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Why wouldn't
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot about that. The guard would not. He, turns the goggles back on, and then the salamander swims in the entrance behind you all, and you actually hear him, hit a little, what appears to be like a small, tiny little circular tube, on his center belt, with his, finger, and you actually hear, like, the pop, 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 like the little resounding, it's almost like a deep bell noise. And the other guard who was encircling the building also descends immediately and rapidly down in the direction of the salamander, spears drawn.
Siegfried has them under control.
You are indicating to go stop them?
Yes.
Alright, they say no such creatures are allowed within the bounds. I don't know why they're letting, and you actually see through the doorway the person with the jellyfish head sort of waves, and you see now they didn't, reveal their arms at all, but it's just these little kind of nubby tentacles that sort of glow a light blue, and you don't hear anything, but the guards sort of ease up ever so slightly. Kind of, their spears are still out, but they're not actively, hunting the salamander anymore, which seems to be eyeballing. It sort of begins to rest now that it's done swimming, and it sort of rests on, and you all appear to be standing atop what appears to be a large, hard shelf of a sort of... You're not quite sure what it is. It's a mixture of grays and pinks. It's like a grayish pink sort of material, ever so slightly porous. You get the feeling it may be some form of a large coral, but it expands out, and you see that the entire ground of this area, besides spots where there's either dirt, additional foundations set from buildings, or a couple of paths that have been carved with ornate detail, it is almost entirely a large coral shelf that this section of the city is founded upon. Anyway, sorry. As far as the lizard goes, it is finally settling itself down and sort of is eyeballing the sharks as they swim around. The sharks are smaller than it, just barely. And it thinks that it might be able to swallow them up if it had the opportunity. Siegfried gets the notion.
I would say this is his mount. As you'd probably guess, we aren't really built to be down here, so it's really tough for us to get around. He has it under control, but we kind of need it to move about.
Zen, go ahead and roll persuasion for me.
Cool. I think I got a +1 to that. Let me just double check. I do. I have a +1, guys.
The guards seem antsy.
I see.
This is a very strange situation that you've put them in, and they are on edge.
Well, I got a 7.
That's not super great. As they indicate, alright, well, we're going to be very much be keeping an eye on him.
I mean, what makes you think this guy is dangerous?
And they kind of look at each other and then look at the salamander. The salamander kind of runs its tongue along the outside of its mouth. And then they look at you, Zen, expectantly.
And I throw over a good berry to the salamander.
Because you're underwater now, you throw the good berry over towards it. It travels ever so slightly slower. This creature has a large mouth, and it opens it quickly. Anybody standing in the vicinity of near its mouth within like 3 feet can feel the vast quantity of water that is shoved like rapidly into its mouth, like It's how a lot of fish catch their prey. They kind of just open their mouth real fast. It does that to the good berry, and you see it sort of burbling out the sides of its mouth as it swallows, and it kind of settles down ever so slightly. The guards seem to take this as enough of a notion to not immediately detain such or exile such a creature. But and you see the jellyfish person now leans back and the portcullis closes behind you. Before you, and this, you get the feeling that you're being observed here and there as you will continue going forward. That said, before you spreads out a veritable rainbow of different so this region specifically that you've entered near is mostly composed of limestone buildings with various ornate carvings, various bits of natural sea life, as well as mixtures of various... you see familiar symbols of sort of the resting coil of the serpent at the base of some buildings. But you notice in some of the street work, the art that indicates certain paths to swim along, as it appears most folks don't actually touch the ground as they swim along these paths. If they are resting, they are resting at the sides of the paths as to not perhaps wear down the art. Like one would stay out of the street, they appear to stay out of the guiding lines of these art pieces, these essentially long murals that create the paths through Arcanautus. Or, I apologize, Arcanautus is the above ground one. We're talking about the Subsea Kingdom. Sorry. You notice most of the buildings in this area are a mixture of 1 to 2 story buildings, although construction, as far as height goes, doesn't seem to be a major concern. A majority of the buildings are single story but wide, much wider than one might assume a typical house on surface would be, perhaps just to cover more surface area for either larger families, or you get the feeling more folks live in single domiciles here than would be above the sea. The tall homes that you do see appear to be businesses, or they do have signs out before them, mostly written in Aquan, some with a common subtitle below it. You see things like I said, a lot of it is in Aquan, and Shylvie, you would get a lot of these puns. It's a lot of things that don't translate super good. One of the places is called Guck Guck. Essentially, which it's not, you realize the way it's written out, it's supposed to be pronounced with the sloshing of water in mind. In Common, it doesn't translate super good, but it's essentially supposed to be what is a snicker, the equivalent of an underwater snicker, and it appears to be some sort of comedy bar, or some sort of bar of entertainment and refreshment, and various other buildings. Impossible to ignore, though, is the fuck off huge tower that you all see a few hundred feet ahead of you, that is composed of primarily this sort of light greenish limestone, obviously given its nature, with little bits of sort of these specks of this yellowish, goldish sort of, and you can see it from this distance, this feature of it, these yellowish, goldish flecks of what appear to be something in the mineral, because of this huge yellow orb that exists. Depicted on here, it's more of a sort of a fire. In the actual reality, it is a actual literal glass sphere that rests atop this, what would that be, 500-foot tall spire. This spire, composed of limestone and these gold flecks within the stone itself, has periodic spiraling windows all up it, and within them you see yellow lights, lanterns of some sort, spherical lanterns in each of them. Along these lanterns you see is depicted a large, dark, like navy blue serpent spiraling all the way up to the top until you see at the top a relief of... It's very difficult to see from this distance. If you swam up, you would eventually be able to see it. But it is, in fact, a depiction of what appears to be what would be the slumbering serpent. But as mentioned, the lights all appear to be on. Not that that's particularly notable to you now. And yeah, just this fuck off huge tower. Based on what Kay had told you earlier, you realize this is the place that you'll most likely find your target. Whose name is... Flynn Marin. The octopus-headed fish folk. Who is the head of what you know this is, the Temple of the Serpent. So yeah, that is your primary goal there. You do see extending up behind that the main spire, a strange sort of mixture of metal, limestone, and what appeared to be coral growths that the metal was shaped around. It appears that the original structure that the Subsea Kingdom was built upon may have been some sort of original, like, large jutting spire, or even a mountain, perhaps. But it appears to have been carved down or narrowed down into this large metal spire, the top of which, the pinnacle of which the yellow barrier seems to come into contact with. You see in the upper areas several larger, taller buildings, more ornate, more colorful than the ones at this level. And you see beyond that, it's difficult to make out with the water, but you do see a looming, sharp shape. Are you all looking at the map? You see the looming, sharp shape of several large, probably based on the construction of the guard post, probably even larger ribs or bones that appear to create a sort of building off far, far up in the distance. So yeah, do you all have any particular goals or anything in particular that you wanted to head out for, look for? You see that around this time there are various fish folk, tritons, sea elves. You see what may be sea dwarves of some sort. Some folks ride atop seahorses to quickly get from place to place. Giant seahorses, I'm sorry. Others appear to just be casually swimming along, speaking to their companions. In general, besides those who seem to be in the middle of delivering something or passing along a message, perhaps, the general tone of the populace here appears to be rather mellow, at least for the moment. It's not super busy. There's, like, you pass by, like, 4 or 5 people as in the main aisle, the main entrance here. It does not appear that many folks are entering and exiting the Subsea Kingdom. You're not exactly sure why, but you may make assumptions as you see fit.
We've heard something.
Indeed.
In regards to...
Sorry?
In regards to things that we should do, or we want to do, I would say we should probably try to blend in a little bit as much as we probably could. Maybe stop by a couple of shops. I remember that the guy that was inside of the hunter serpent or whatever said that Shylv's parent or whatever ran a shop. I'm also interested in, like, checking out what they got as a blacksmith or a weapons shop here, considering it's underwater, as well as trying to find myself the fastest mount possible.
I like that. Alright, so it appears based on that, the first thing that we are looking for is Babrug, correct?
Bingo!
All right, so to that
Actually,
end,
no, their name is Babrug, not Bingo. But,
you all, and I did send this in the Discord so I can remember actually writing it. There is a distinct unease amongst those that see Zen and Siegfried, and even Shylvie notices that they get odd looks from both the guards, and a few select sea folk as well. Those looks appear to be less hostile and more concerned than the looks that Zen and Siegfried appear to be getting. Folks do look at you all as you swim around, especially when they notice the large salamander. Many of them quickly swim away and hide to the sides in alleys or near buildings. They appear to be a little bit more skittish here, or perhaps more used to being able to hide in public than perhaps one would be at the surface.
so, does everyone in the world know what a multiplier salamander is? Because I thought this was more of a
No,
rare type
it's
species
just a
thing.
fuck off huge lizard that looks a little unnatural.
They have giant. They have people that ride sharks.
Aw.
The
Sharks are
salamanders
normal.
also, yeah.
Salamanders are amphibians and are very, very rarely seen.
Many of these
Hey,
people
I'll-
are probably
I'll-
like, why the fuck does that does that snake have legs? Why does that eel have legs, and why is it so thick?
Why does that? Wouldn't it be like a serpent? Why does that serpent have legs?
Serpent, yeah.
Oh, you said that the salamander is slightly larger than those sharks.
That's, I mean, true, but still,
The sharks
I feel
are
like
live.
Sharks are. I feel like the sharks are scarier than this guy. But also, you should probably ride him for now. to
Do you
give
really,
people-
Raheem? You really believe those sharks are scarier than the salamander?
Scarier looking.
Not to them.
But
It
yeah,
appears that they don't, as you observe, guards do swim past. A couple of them sort of slow their mounts as they pass by you, but they sort of put down their goggles, turn them on, kind of turn them off, and leave. You notice
I'm not
actually
getting
that a
a pair of
lot.
goggles.
You notice these sudden glows from either above you or to the sides or whatever as these guards pass by, as they appear to turn on their goggles as they observe your group. This happens 3 or 4 times as you all are just traveling around searching for Babrug's shop.
this is too real for me.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a xenophobic atmosphere, you get the feeling. This is uncomfortable, distinctly and clearly. You are outsiders here, and the general reaction to you seems to indicate people's discomfort with your presence. But how will you go about finding this shop? This kingdom, as per it being a kingdom, is pretty fuck off huge. You can continue looking for the needle in the haystack, and I can roll a percentile die and see if we find it. Or you can begin to ask around, or look for some kind of signage, or perhaps a shop in which you may be able to do business or inquire further. I will say, as you enter what appears to be sort of a more center of town sort of deal around here. You guys see where I'm doing?
Yeah.
You see a large kind of light glue glowing, large amorphous sea anemone with only 3 stalks, but they seem to kind of undulate and wave in sort of this pleasant pattern. You see a lot of people just kind of swimming around it, or away from it, nobody's closer than 10 feet to it. But everybody's sort of observing, and this seems to be kind of a general central hub that people seem to just. You see a lot of there's some families with their kids just sort of swimming around. There appears to be a pod of fish folk children that are all sort of swimming or idly sitting at the coral floor as a sea elf is holding a scroll before them and appears to be reading off something at them and indicating towards the large anemone here and there. You do see off to the sides a couple of shops. One appears to be a what would be the underwater equivalent of a smoke shop. Called, and give me a sec.
A bubble shop.
Bubble shop. There we go. What's today's date? The 20, or no, the 30th.
Today's the 30th.
Shylvie. It's essentially Ruo. They love those repeating noises. It's catchy. Which essentially translates to I'm through, or like I'm done with this.
Is anything written in deep speech? Or
no. Okay. I'm gonna pause the recording for just a moment, my dear friends. Pardon me. Viewers, you aren't gonna hear this for at all. So 1 moment.